They said he was too small to dominate football, too short, too weak, too easy to stop. What they didn't understand was that size doesn't matter when you think faster than everyone else. While defenders were reacting, he was already finishing. Romário was never expected to become one of the most lethal strikers in history. He didn't look like a superstar. He didn't train like one. He didn't even behave like one. And yet, he dominated. World-class defenders, elite goalkeepers, entire teams, as if it were routine. He didn't rely on power, he didn't rely on speed. He relied on something far more precise: timing, instinct, and a level of confidence few players could sustain. But there is a contradiction at the center of his career. At his peak, already among the best in the world, he made decisions that shocked everyone. He ignored coaches, skipped training, lived entirely on his own terms, and still, he kept winning. So the real question is not how good he was. The real question is, how did the shortest striker on the pitch become the most unstoppable one? Long before the world knew his name, football was survival. Romário grew up in the chaos of Rio de Janeiro, where space was limited, games were physical, and only the most aware players succeeded. There was no time, no space. One touch, maybe two. Hesitation meant losing the ball. That environment shaped him. Not physically, but mentally. He understood early that he would never be the biggest player on the pitch, so he became the quickest thinker. While others tried to overpower defenders, he studied them. Their balance, their positioning, their mistakes, and then he exploited them. By the time he joined Vasco da Gama, he was no longer just a promising striker. He was already a problem. Goals came naturally. Movement looked effortless. Defenders struggled to anticipate him because he wasn't reacting to the game. He was anticipating it. He wasn't faster, he wasn't stronger, he was simply more precise. But there was a challenge ahead. At the highest level, football traditionally favored physical dominance, especially in Europe, where players like him were expected to fail. When Romário arrived in Europe, the doubts followed him. Too small, too light, not suited for the physical demands of elite football. Particularly in the Netherlands, where defenders were known for strength and discipline. On paper, he wasn't expected to succeed. But football is not played on paper. At PSV Eindhoven, he adapted immediately. Then he took control. Goals came consistently, often in ways that seemed deceptively simple. Tap-ins, quick finishes, movements that defenders failed to track. While others focused on the ball, Romário focused on space, small gaps, brief moments. Situations most players overlooked. That's where he operated. Season after season, he scored with remarkable consistency. Nearly a goal per game. Numbers that shifted perception from doubt to respect, and eventually to concern. What made it more difficult to explain was his behavior off the pitch. He did not follow conventional discipline. He avoided strict routines. He resisted structure. And yet he delivered every weekend. This created a dangerous assumption that perhaps he didn't need discipline. That talent alone could be enough. But that idea would soon be tested at the highest level. At FC Barcelona, everything intensified. This was not just another club. It was the dream team, led by Johan Cruyff. A system built on control, precision, and dominance. Yet from the moment Romário arrived, he became central to it. Not through leadership, but through execution. Goals, constant, efficient, decisive. He didn't just score, he destabilized defenses, pulled players out of position, forced hesitation, finished with precision. Then came the defining moment. The match against Real Madrid. A full stadium, maximum pressure. Romário made it look routine. One goal, then another, then a third. A hat trick. Barcelona won 5-0. But one of the most revealing moments came before a match. Days ahead of an important game, Romário asked Cruyff for permission to return to Brazil early for Carnival. Cruyff refused, then set a condition. Score 2 goals in the first 20 minutes and you can go. Romário accepted. When the match began, he delivered exactly that. 2 goals before the 20-minute mark. Then he scored again, completed a hat trick. At halftime, he left. Quietly, without celebration. For most players, this would be seen as arrogance. For him, it was evidence. Evidence that he operated at a different level. But while his performances drew global attention, something else was developing behind the scenes. Something that would define his legacy just as much as his goals. Most players follow structure, training routines, coaching instructions, discipline. Romário did not. He openly questioned the value of training. "I don't need to train. Just give me the ball on match day." This was not exaggeration. While others prepared intensively during the week, he conserved his energy. Focus, precision, execution, all reserved for the match itself. His lifestyle reflected this approach. Late nights, social distractions, a pattern most coaches would reject. Yet once the game began, none of it seemed to matter. He performed consistently. Coaches faced a dilemma: leave him out and lose goals, play him and lose control. Even Johan Cruyff adapted to him rather than attempting to change him. Because players like Romário do not follow systems, they disrupt them. And instead of limiting him, this approach enhanced his unpredictability. But there was one stage where everything would be tested. Not at club level, on the biggest stage in football. After reaching the top, most players become more controlled. Romário became less predictable. He returned to Brazil as a national figure. Clubs were built around him, fans followed him, and he continued to deliver. Goals, records, consistency. Alongside increasing controversy, conflicts with teammates, disagreements with coaches, public statements without restraint, he did not manage his image. He did not adjust to expectations. He focused on one objective, scoring, and he continued to do it across clubs and seasons until a defining milestone, his 1,000th goal. At the Maracanã Stadium, a penalty, a pause, an entire nation watching, then the finish. History. Only a small number of players had reached that mark. He was now among them. Not the tallest, not the strongest, but one of the most efficient, and that made him difficult to control. Because consistent performance overrides conventional authority. You cannot bench a player who decides matches. You cannot change a player who continues to succeed. Romário operated outside the system and still dominated within it. What made Romário exceptional was not physical, it was cognitive. While others focused on running faster, he focused on thinking faster. While others relied on strength, he relied on anticipation. Every movement had intent, every touch had purpose, every finish felt inevitable. He did not require multiple chances, one was sufficient. That efficiency defined his career, but what truly separated him was his independence. He did not conform to the expectations of the game, he redefined them. And in doing so, he demonstrated something that challenges conventional logic. That dominance does not always require strength, discipline, or volume. Sometimes it requires clarity and certainty. That is why defenders could not stop him, why coaches could not control him, and why his impact could not be ignored. Because the shortest striker on the pitch was also the most decisive, and perhaps that is why no one has replicated him since.